Well, good afternoon and welcome to North Star Oasis. I'm your host, Jeff Williams. We're here for a very, very jam-packed episode of what I'm hoping is your favorite Saturday afternoon television show. All of our shows are on YouTube, youtube.com/North Star Oasis. Feel free to check out any of our missing episodes. I'll tell you, we usually pack a lot in on our shows, and today we're actually going to relax and kind of chill out just a little bit, but first we got some business to take care of. Yes, it was Super Tuesday, this past Tuesday. We had our show last week. By the way, did you survive leap year? We didn't fall off the edge of the earth. We're still here. Once every 4 years, we have a leap day, and we had leap day last Monday. So here we are in March. And thankfully, the temperatures are actually starting to show that we are in March type weather. But we did have Super Tuesday on Tuesday, March 1st, and it was a record turnout in at least the Republican side, and I know the Democrats had a very good turnout. And I have to say, looking at the results from our viewing area, I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you who had taken the time to go to your precinct caucus, because this, in our state, since we don't have a presidential primary, this is the way that your voice is heard. And we have covered the presidential race now for a year. We've gone more in depth than most other shows have, so I'm really hoping that when you made it out to your precinct caucus that you had already made an informed choice just by watching this TV show. So what happened in Minnesota on the Democrat side? Bernie Sanders, who last April we said was the person to watch for, he ended up with 61.25% of the vote, according to the Minnesota Secretary of State's office. Hillary Clinton had 38.03% of the vote. That was good for Bernie getting 46 delegates, Hillary getting 31 delegates. And remember, 2,383 delegates are needed to win the Democrat nomination for president. As it stands right now, Hillary Clinton has 1,066 delegates, with 3,267 still available. Bernie Sanders has 432 delegates. Keep in mind, if you take out the superdelegates, which can flip on either side, Hillary Clinton only has a slight lead over Bernie Sanders with the pledged delegate count. So when you hear this huge lead, double, twice as much as what Bernie has, remember, right now it's an illusion because you have superdelegates in there. That does not count until the convention in July, which means right now, strip away the superdelegates and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are pretty much in a neck-and-neck race. Kind of like we told you all throughout 2015 that it could be. On the Republican side, Marco Rubio in Minnesota had 36.24%. That was good for 17 of the state's 38 delegates. Ted Cruz was second with 29.04% of the vote. That was good for 13 delegates. And Donald Trump had a third place finish with 21.42% of the vote and 8 delegates. And considering that there are still 294 shopping days left until Christmas, the fact that Marco Rubio won a state, Minnesota, was a big Christmas present to him. Ben Carson, who had since dropped out of the race, at 7.37% of the vote, and John Kasich, 5.75%. And of course, neither Kasich nor Carson ended up with any delegates at all in that total. The total delegate count on the Republican side was Trump, as of today, going into today, Trump with 329, Cruz with 231, Rubio with 110, Kasich with 25, and that means the race is not over. Just looking down today, we have on the Republican side, I believe, looking at Republicans, Democrat side, today Kansas has their caucuses with 33 delegates, and Louisiana has 51 delegates, and Nebraska has 25 delegates. All of that is up for grabs today. And then when we take a look at the Republican side, for today's races. Kansas has 40 delegates, and since they've already started that process, the latest report is that Ted Cruz is leading with about 50%, and he is most likely going to be the winner of Kansas. Kentucky has 46 delegates, Louisiana has 46 delegates, and Maine has 23 delegates, and right now 5% of Maine's vote have been reported, and with just 5% in, Ted Cruz is leading Donald Trump 48-35. Marco Rubio has 8.6% and John Kasich 7.4%. We'll see if those trends hold out. Both of these races are far from over. This is going to be a long nomination contest, but that's why you have us, to keep you informed as to what is going on in the world around us for the important quest of the presidential nomination and the presidential election process. Now, as we introduced last week, we are showing you a new series, and because of the importance of what's going on in our society, we've decided, thanks to Prager University, to take a closer look at the Ten Commandments. Oh, and I was just reminded, we were talking about the presidential race. We do have 45 more weeks until the next presidential inauguration. So that's where we're at in that count. But we introduced that new series on the Ten Commandments, and really it's relevant today. And Dennis Prager does a fabulous job in explaining things in terms that everybody should be able to understand, regardless of your faith and what your beliefs are. It's a matter of how the Ten Commandments can be applied to our society today to have a good, orderly society. And we're going to take a look right now at the first commandment.
What is the first of the Ten Commandments? Might seem like an odd question, but it's not. Jews and Christians give different answers. The reason is that what we know as the Ten Commandments is, in the original Hebrew, the 10 statements. And since the Hebrew is the original, we begin with the first statement, which all religions agree is, I am the Lord your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. This statement is so important that none of the other commandments make sense without it. First, it asserts that God is giving these commandments, not Moses and not any other human being. Second, God is the one who delivered you from slavery. Again, no human being did this, not even Moses. Therefore, you have an obligation to me, God. And what is that obligation? That you live by the following 9 commandments. This is the beginning of what is known as ethical monotheism, the greatest world-changing innovation of the Hebrew Bible. It means 2 things. Ethical monotheism means that the one God, that's monotheism, is the source of ethics, of morality. Morality, an objective code of right and wrong, does not emanate from human opinion. It emanates from God and therefore transcends human opinion. The other meaning of ethical monotheism is that what God most wants from us is that we treat other human beings morally. None of the 10 Commandments concern what humans must do, quote unquote, for God. Pre-10 Commandments religions all believe that people must do a lot for their gods. For example, feed them and even sacrifice people to them. But now, thanks to the 10 Commandments, mankind learned that what God wants is that we be good to our fellow human beings. Even the commandments concerning not having false gods and not carrying God's name in vain are ultimately about morality. The thing we can do for God is to treat all his other children decently. Every parent can relate to this. Parents, or at least healthy parents, have indescribable joy when they see their children act lovingly toward one another, and indescribable pain when they see their children hurt one another. So too God, who is likened to our Father in heaven, cares most about how we treat other human beings, all of whom are his children. The third critical teaching of the first statement, I am the Lord your God who took you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, is the importance and the meaning of freedom. Note that God is not saying in this introduction to the Ten Commandments that he created the world. It surely would have made a lot of sense for God to introduce the Ten Commandments with this statement, I am the Lord your God who created the world. That is, after all, pretty impressive and would make sense. I created the world, you better listen to me. But no. The one thing God declares is that he took the children of Israel out of slavery and into freedom. That's how much God hates slavery and how important God considers freedom. The founders of America based their entire view of America on this belief that God wants us to be free. That is why the most iconic symbol of the American Revolution, the Liberty Bell, has only one sentence inscribed on it, a verse from the Hebrew Bible, proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. But there is one other equally important lesson about freedom imparted by the opening statement of the Ten Commandments: what freedom means. The giver of the Ten Commandments is in effect saying, I took you out of slavery and into freedom, and these Ten Commandments are the way to make a free society. You cannot be a free people if you do whatever you want. Freedom comes from moral self-control. There is no other way to achieve it. And fourth and finally, by telling us that he liberated the Hebrew slaves, God made clear that he cares deeply about human beings. It is impressive to create the world, but what most matters is not only that there is a creator, but that the creator cares about his creation. All of that is in the one statement with which the Ten Commandments begins. I'm Dennis Prager. Join Prager University. Subscribe to our...
And there you have it. The first commandment is actually a commandment about freedom. And that also gives us the freedom to have this TV show that you're watching. And because we have a special guest here today, the freedom to play musical instruments. Please welcome with me, Johnny Holliday.
Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-da-doo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-da-doo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. Your love is rain, my heart the flower. I need your love or I will die. My very life is in your power. Will I wither or fade or bloom to the sky? Água de Babel, água de Babel, camarada. Água de Babel, água de Babel, camarada. Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-da-doo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-da-doo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. The rain can fall on distant deserts. The rain can fall upon the sea. The rain can fall upon the flower. But if the rain has to fall, let it fall on me. Água de Babel, água de Babel, camarada. Água de Babel, água de Babel, camarada. Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-da-doo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. ba ba do da, shoo ba ya da do da, ba ba do da, ba do do ba ya da do da, ba ba do da. Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, do-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da. Ba-ba-doo-da, shoo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-da-doo-ba-ya-da-do-da, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da.
Well, Johnny, welcome.
Thank you,
Welcome
thank you.
to
Thank
North
you for
Star
having me.
Oasis. We really appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a few moments to just sit and talk with you, get to know you a little bit, and again, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
So, when did you first start playing, and what was your first instrument?
The trumpet was primarily my first instrument. I got inspired. I wanted to play drums like all the other kids wanted to. Drums, bang on something, make a bunch of noise so everybody could hear you. I picked up the trumpet because I remember hearing some amazing stories about my brother, Johnny Holliday, who was just an amazing trumpet player in high school and college and stuff like that. And the man could make music when he played.
Wow.
Just a very big inspiration, a big mentor of mine throughout my life. So when I heard him playing, I was like, oh, I want that one. So, of course, it's my mom's dream that we play trumpet because she relates it to Gabriel with the trumpet, the angel Gabriel and all that stuff. So, and I never really practiced. I thought,
Hey, you
it
could have
was
fooled
too-
me.
Yeah. Well, around my junior, senior year in high school, I remember my brother came in from the oil rigs because he used to work for an offshore oil company. And he came in to just play. He said, let me see your horn a little bit. And I was like, here, and he was like, he was screaming all over the place. I was like, oh, and he's like, I was like, my horn playing doesn't sound like that. And he said, well, you have to do a thing called practice. And I was like, so I started practicing. And then I picked up other instruments along the way.
Okay. So what made you decide to play professionally? Was it just the family influence? Or
No,
was
actually-
it just, were there other professional musicians that you had heard that you wanted to emulate?
Well, I was always inspired by a famous trumpet player named Phil Driscoll.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that guy. To me, he inspired me big time. I didn't know you could do that much more with a trumpet the way he does it.
I actually caught Phil Driscoll in concert back when I was in high school.
Oh, did you?
Yes, and
Just amazing, isn't he?
And I was just flabbergasted. And I was a trumpet player as well, and yes, I'd like to have my trumpet sing like that. Well, you spent the time and the effort and the practice, and I didn't. I get into politics.
Yeah, well, you don't want me on politics. I'll jack it all up. Well, I know. I heard Phil Driscoll, and I was like, how come my B flat don't sound like that? But he's very passionate and an amazing singer. I like the tone of his voice, but I met musicians like that along my life.
Have you ever had a chance to meet Phil?
Oh yeah, we talked, and in fact, he's an acquaintance of mine.
Gotcha.
And I remember when I was deployed, and I wanted to order some of his tracks to share in a Christmas holiday, and the guy was just very, very giving to anything I wanted. And I just took a couple of songs that I needed for the show that I was doing while I was downrange. But I had people like that, and then I actually ended up getting involved with a music ministry with my brother called Double Portion, and we traveled for about 2 or 3 years together, and then he became a pastor, and so I went solo as an evangelist, and then came across when my wife and I were walking to Walmart, went to Walmart one time and came across an Army recruiter, sniper, and I've always wanted to do that, my previous active duty years. So I decided to give up music, and I ended up going to the Air Force.
Right. Well, let's talk briefly about your military experience. You mentioned you were Army before?
No, I was Air Force.
Oh, you
I was
were Air Force the entire
mhm.
time?
In
entire career?
89 through 93.
Okay. So what made you decide on going in the Air Force and not going into an Air Force band?
Well, I was going to give up music. You know, the Army wanted too much rank for me. And I had already a family with a couple of kids, and there's no way I could have done it with that pay. So I was ready to give up music. I was done with the traveling kind of thing, and I was going to go for PJs. And so I've been training pararescue, and I'd been training when I went downrange, and you know, just train and train more.
And can you explain for our viewers what downrange means?
Well, downrange means when you're deployed when you go to a location that you're deployed to overseas in a foreign country. So it means that you're in another country doing what we do. And a command chief at the time, Command Chief Martin Klukas, came in on a performance I was doing.
And again, for the viewers, the command chief is just the highest enlisted rank that you can get with any Air Force unit.
Yes, and when he walked in, I still remember, I mean, the lights were kind of low, and I remember when he walked in, I mean, it was a big, broad guy. And he had been a mentor to me while I was especially downrange and throughout my whole career, and it still is. And just basically told me, you know, I seen you training, and, you know, I don't have a doubt that you could make pararescue. You know, did a lot of training on my own time, you know. And
where is the training for pararescue?
I'm sorry?
Where is the training for
It's
that?
in Lackland. That's where
Lackland
they
Air
start
Force
in
Base,
dock,
San
and then they go
Antonio.
to different locations
Okay.
and stuff like that. And it was just to take the PASS test, which is a pre-test you have to take in order to make sure you can even, you know, get inside the program. So I had been doing a lot of that throughout my 6-7 months I was deployed the first time. And he pulled me, we were in a chapel together for a couple of weeks before I was coming back home. And I told Chief, I told him, I said, sir, I said, Chief, I really want to go pararescue, but you had me gigging when he heard me play, people thought I was on a USO tour. They had no idea I was acting dirty. He had me playing so much. And, you know, and I was torn between two loves. And he told me, you know, that's when he said, you know, I really think you'd make PJ and you'd be good, but why would you want to give up the talent that God gave you with music? And I was just like, oh. He was just serious. He was straight up front.
I'll tell you
with
what,
me.
hold on one second here, and this is just a note for our producer that, you know, while we do have 40 minutes left of the show, that, you know, Johnny is going to be playing more than just one tune for us today. So, you know, we're going to be hearing a little bit more from him here in just a few minutes.
But so to make a long story short, he inspired me to pursue the music, and when I got back, and I did so many performances while I was, you know, off duty down deployment area into deployed location, I chose that route. And he was right. I got to do more things and have more of my dreams fulfilled, not just music related, but with military related programs and participation than I ever would have as a PJ. That's what happened for me.
Okay.
So that's when I just continued on and continued on.
So what was your first career field?
I was a bomb loader for the FB-111. I didn't like that job at all.
I could tell.
Yeah, I did not like that job at all, you know.
Well, my first Air Force job was information management, which essentially desk clerk. Shuffle the papers. Everybody's orders would come in through my desk.
So you were my best friend when I
Yes,
needed to
pretty
go
much.
to I needed to go to another place. Yeah,
I just had to make sure that your paperwork is straight, so you got paid.
That's
and
a big thing. That's a big
the people who were there who knew that, okay, this is the person we can expect, but I was
Right.
not personnel. I was it was just, again, that was just not the career field for me. So when I had a chance to train into public affairs, I mean, that was just the whole world for me.
Now I can see you in public affairs. I can see you in
Well,
PA
thank you.
easily, very easily. It's
And-
it's a very moving program too, because I mean y'all are all over the place with that
Yes.
career field. So
And then, getting back to you, so you were only in for 4 years.
4 years, 10 months. I did a
4
tour.
years, 10 months.
I did a world tour with Thompson Blue in '92. It was called For the Record. And then shortly after that, I got out and I decided I didn't want the military anymore. It wasn't what I liked, or, that person. I mean, I met some great people, but it just wasn't my thing. So I ended up roughnecking and offshore with Diamond Offshore at the time. And then I ended up going into music ministry. And then I ended up coming back in '03, especially after what happened at 911. So, on the 9/11.
So what brought you
incident.
to Minnesota?
Wow. Well, I was an instructor over in Fort Worth at a base called Carswell Naval Air Station, and then we would take the troops and train them in different areas that were needed to deploy. But our unit was shutting down, and the commander that's here now, with our unit, I worked for him when I came back in the second time.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. And he had contacted me and said, hey, we're going to have some slots open, I'm just, asking you might want to consider putting in for it. And I was like, no. I argued with him a little bit. I was like, I don't want to do law enforcement. I like what I do in the field, But then shortly after that, we found out that our unit was closing down, and he called me again. He said,
So when did you come back?
Come back.
When did you come back in uniform?
Oh, I came back in 2003. So I had a 10-year
okay.
break. And I got the job, and, still I was a little bit reluctant because I'm not a law enforcement type of guy. I don't have that.
You're a musician.
Oh, well, musician, yes. So I like to talk to everybody.
Law enforcement.
But I like the woods. I like the combat zone. I like the combat environment. All that
a
stuff.
little bit of bebop in between.
Yeah, and you can hear me coming down the wood trail because you hear me playing my horn practicing.
That's right.
But and it turned out that moving here was probably the greatest thing that we did in my career. Got promoted out of it. I mean, the other units were great, but this is the one I've gotten the most out of for my career side. Musically,
You're working on it.
well, musically here it's picked up way faster than it did for me in Miami. And Miami was quick, but here has been a very, very successful. A success rate for the music performances. And not only that, but again, I have the tremendous support of my unit, which is the 934th Security Forces Unit. The tremendous support, not only from the leadership, but my flight chief, my co-workers, my troops, and just the support is just unbelievable.
And the base is public affairs staff and
Oh
former
yes,
public
Paul
affairs
Zydak
people.
and all those guys, So Captain Mojica and all those guys, they've just been a huge support, and I've totally appreciated the opportunities. And
Now I understand that Paul Zydak does play at Wilebski's.
he plays with a band from time to time.
So are you guys going to?
We're working on stuff together to do a gig together,
That
jazz
would be
gig.
really cool.
That would be nice. We'd be the only two taking pictures of ourselves at the same time
That's
because we're
right.
like selfies all the time, him with cameras and me with my own camera. But a lot of people don't realize that even though I have the success and the support of what I do musically for my unit and of course my family, I still have a job to do, and which is my primary job with the security forces. So, without the consistency of working hard and diligent with my flight chief and making sure my training certifications are up or making sure my troops taken care of, that had to be earned first. They had to see, Johnny's not always about the music. He can actually do his job, So that was very important to me that they understand that. And they have never questioned it since when they see what I do in my job and as well as in the music career. So, and then they show up, quite a bit, So it's been just a huge blessing to know these guys that I work with and the opportunities that we all do together. A lot of camaraderie, we hang out together from time to time. We'll have get-togethers and stuff like that. So, and also from time to time, the commander's able, when he has time, he's able to get involved, and so is our senior leadership. So, it's just a well-balanced unit. It's not a perfect unit because if you know a perfect,
there is a perfect.
There
unit
isn't.
out there, so
I haven't found it
therefore,
yet.
I haven't either.
or business for that matter. But
This is as close as it gets, right?
two people right here. That's it.
And a great production.
Oh,
crew.
amazing production staff. So they've been really.
So now,
helpful.
what was the first? What can you tell me about the first musical number you did when you first came on?
That
the
was a song that was redone by Al Jarreau, who I opened up for at the Miami Jazz in the Garden. It's called Agua de Beber. It's a French song, but I don't sing in French except that one line. And that.
Je parle français, petit.
Oh, you speak a little bit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Well,
yeah, that's
then,
about all I remember.
Well, okay. Well, good, because that's as far as I can get. It's a French song, and it's a romantic song, and I liked it because it's not too fast and it's not too slow. It's a nice warm-up song for me. It's just a fun song to sing, and it's a very easy listening, nothing high-powered on some of like the other stuff that I do. So, it was. I've used it so many times, and then sometimes I forget about the songs there. I'd rather do it with a live band like I have in the past. Where you have a lot more freedom to
Yeah,
solo
not
and
in
stuff
a little
like that.
stuffy studio. With
Well,
no,
no, it's just no, this is fine. I mean, I've played in smaller places than this, but it's just the freedom to be able to expound on the soloing. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I gotta come back in the verse, boom, you know. So even though
So,
the people don't know the song.
What's your
well-
next one queued up for us?
Well, the next song is one that I wrote on my. It's called Dance Conmigo. It's a Brazilian samba. I used that one on my second jazz CD, which is called In the Light, and it was my first song I ever wrote, and it was produced and co-written actually with a friend of mine, a very very close friend of mine, an amazing musician, Austin Beal. Great guy. He's in full-time ministry, but he's toured the world. He's played with all kinds of amazing talents, and this is a guy that I did a show in Miami downtown. He's playing keys right hand, bass left hand, and singing with me.
Whoa.
And so I'm like, okay, now I gotta go get another horn. I'll be right back, you know. So, but he's just amazing.
Well,
song.
let's hear it.
Okay, I'll be Roger that, as we say.
And here we have Johnny Holliday coming up with our next tune once he takes the microphone off. That's the one thing about being on a set like this. We get too many microphones around, and we're bumping it up a notch here, but we still have a little ways to go. Here's Johnny Holliday.
As you can tell.
That is definitely a fun song. So tell me, how many instruments do you play?
8.
8.
Legitimately 8.
Yeah, I barely play one.
But you can play the radio and you play it in tune, so that's where it counts.
I guess so. So which 8 do you play? I see that you've got a trumpet back there, a flugel horn, a clarinet, and
No,
a saxophone.
soprano sax.
Is that soprano
That's
sax?
a soprano
Okay.
like Kenny G, what he's
Ah,
known for.
yeah, okay. It looks like a clarinet from here, but I stand corrected. So that means you got 4 more.
I do. The recorders. I play the alto, the tenor, and the soprano and the soprano. And then sometimes I'll play some congas and timbales, but I don't really consider myself that much of a percussionist.
So where did you get your musical training?
My training, well, I gained it through high school, middle school, people that I've crossed paths with, in college a little bit, and then along the line when I was, in the military and outside the military. So, I mean, I hear people, and I was like, oh, how do you do that? And there's a great trumpet instructor buddy of mine called Larry Schmidt out of San Antonio. The guy was just amazing, and every time I go take lessons, we haven't even made it to the trumpet yet because we're always on the mouthpiece. I'm like, when do we go to the trumpet, He's like, well, when you get this down, then we can go down. I was like, So needless to say, I haven't got to the trumpet part yet with him, and it's been years, but he's a great inspiration to me and an excellent friend. I've been blessed to meet all kinds of people that are just, out of this world. Gerald Albright, a famous saxophonist, I've shot emails to him, hey, how are you developing this? And he said, oh, hey, how you doing this? And has responded back. So it's been a great opportunity throughout my life that I've got to meet or somehow communicate with these individuals to be able to do what I do.
I understand you got a couple of CDs out?
I have actually 3.
3 of them?
The first one I ever did was called Shine in Me. And that was a very, very, I was very excited about that one. It was good. It was my first solo CD. Then I did In the Light. That one got me the major endorsements from AMT mics and as well as Marcinkwitz Company, the trumpet. And then the last one I did was called The Standards, which are actually 4 singles that were put together on an album because people kept asking me, telling me, you should put them on an album. I'm like, that's 4 songs. Why would you do that, But it turns out
album's usually around 10 or 12.
Right, and it turns out it was a great move, So and then I got download cards too, which I was like, no. But then I realized that the young people like the download cards more than like CDs because we like CDs.
Yes, it's a generational thing,
We like tangible things.
But hey, those baby boomers, our parents, they still are on vinyl.
Album, yeah. I'm gonna get
vinyl and 8-track. At least we had cassettes and CDs.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of these days I'm gonna get all my albums on a vinyl and just put them up and make it look like I got my own.
I did hear that
record.
Vinyl is making a comeback.
It is apparently. So I'm got to catch up with these guys.
Yeah, it's like $3,000 to get essentially a vinyl DVD player.
I won't need that. I just want to make a vinyl and put on my wall. That's all I want to do. I want to make spray paint it gold and say it's my first gold record.
There we go. So I understand that you were in Las Vegas recently.
I was. Because of a performance I did with the Vikings. I got a lot of phone calls to play in different places.
Okay, let's talk about that Vikings experience. I was actually going to bring that up next, but you kind of cut in there on where I was going. So let's talk about that Vikings because actually the first time I ever heard you play, now back when I was still with the 934th, I did know about you, and I heard that you had played. I think we may have met a couple of times before I left in 2012. But, was really, when you were at a Minnesota Lynx game last summer, or last fall, was really the first time I heard you play the national anthem.
Oh, wow.
And then, you came back with the Vikings, and was it the December 28th game?
27th game? Yes. And they called me on Christmas Eve for that one.
Wow.
I was at Gander Mountain with my wife. We were looking at some toys that Gander has to offer, and I got the call, and it was by Mr. Tabor, and I had already sent them an email like 3 or 4 months before, and I knew it was too late in the game to try to get a gig with them. But he called me, and he said that he asked if I was available to do the game on that Sunday, and I was like, "What time?"
Drop everything. I'm going to a game.
Well, I was still kind of like, wow, I wasn't expecting it, and. He said 7:30 game, and I told him, I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. I said, I hope you don't mind. It's going to be a hit-and-run job because I got only enough time to come in, do what I got to do, stay for a couple minutes, and go on duty. Because the guy that I was covering for that first part of the shift was at the game. So I was like, okay, cool, no big deal. We can handle this. Security forces, we always adapt. So I said, sure, I can come in. And you see, I was excited because it was so fast. Usually it takes about a year or so to get in the circuit. And I didn't take into consideration the temperature.
14 degrees?
Oh. Let's just say I was talking to Jesus the whole time when I was flying. Oh, I was like, what was I thinking of wanting to do this gig? But I was excited. I get more excited than I'm worried about the
I didn't get
drama.
a chance to download it in time for the show, but there's a video out there of you
Yes.
just really excited when you were done with it.
Yeah, at the end, yeah, that was something way out of my character that I've never done before, and it's on the Vikings. If you go to YouTube, you can type in Vikings National Anthem, and you'll see me in my uniform playing. And the Vikings staff was just amazing. They were really, really giving to my guys, and I, just provided us with so much stuff to enjoy the game. Tickets, great tickets, and so I was excited. I went
Did
out
they give
there.
you plenty of hot chocolate or hot tea to warm up your lips afterwards?
Actually, I had hand warmers. I was like this. And then my hand warmers got cold. They stopped working. So that wasn't working. And, I felt so embarrassed because there was a giant that was standing on this big heater, right? I don't remember the guy's name, but he was standing, and all I was just thinking about is my face. I got to keep these muscles warm somehow so I could, feel what I'm doing. And he was standing right there, and I was like, move. I wasn't even thinking. I didn't mean to be so rude. And the guy just looked at me. I was like, I didn't want to even explain. I got to get the heat in my face. Luckily, he was very kind. He moved, for a little bit, and I left. But it was 14 degrees, and when I put the horn in my face, I could not feel the horn.
Wow.
So I was just like, this is where it's so important that technique and a lot of prayer comes involved, But at the end, I was really, really excited. You thought I made the winning Super Bowl touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my ring, my Super Bowl
you
ring.
should be getting a ring.
And
But we do know that, Tom Brady, he didn't get a ring this year. So
yeah. Well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
And
That deflated his hopes.
and I think I was just so excited because my guys from the unit were there. My family was happy for me. Unfortunately, we lost some guys that in combat, so they were in my mind and in my heart. So it was everything that was just built up to that moment. And then, just the camaraderie that my guys and I have, and just the support, it was just tremendous. And,
So what opportunities have opened up since then?
well, since then, I got invited to play for the Timberwolves, which was a great opportunity again.
But
great
the Lynx
people.
were still the first.
His Lynx was the first, and and I had talked with the Timberwolves staff, during that time, and they were very interested. But those individuals, they have to plan out so far in advance,
Yes.
and which I totally understand. It's just business. And then I got invited to play at the Timberwolves, like I said. Then I was flown to Vegas last week for a whole week to play for the Air Force Wounded Warrior program, not the Wounded Warrior Project. It's two different entities.
Really?
The Air Force Wounded Warrior Program is mandated and funded by the Air Force.
Okay.
So it's nothing to do with the Wounded Warrior Project. What these individuals, the staff is just remarkable. The passion, the desire to help these individuals that have been injured and been traumatized through all kinds of events in their life have just totally blown my mind. I mean, they were there and they were working. And they brought me in to play a couple of songs, but they allowed me to participate in helping them, do this, do that, whatever they needed. I was not about to sit in a hotel and watch TV until I had to play. I just don't work like that. If my family's not with me, I got to get out the house, So I got to participate. They had a swimming event. They had all of his competition, swimming, archery, rifle, running, like track, shot put discus, bicycling. I mean, it was just a mass, event. It's like Olympics.
Wow.
But I mean, these guys were just so passionate in helping these individuals, succeed in a part of their life that they need to. We all need to. So I got to participate with them, and it was just nonstop. It was just I worked way more than I played, which is totally fine with me. And I got to play for them quite a bit. I played the Australian anthem. Never did that before. And those guys were very, very, very good guys. Then I did the national anthem for the cycle event. And then I did some smooth jazz and Latin jazz at the Renaissance Hotel, which was very kind to us. They allowed me to use their audio rig to do it without charging us. So they were very,
Well, that's
very,
always nice.
Yes, it's very nice. They were very, very professional, very, supportive of what we did.
And then I understand you had a concert last night. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. I was trying to get there,
Yeah.
but a friend of mine had a vehicle breakdown, and I had to go and help him out with that. But how'd that concert go last night?
The show was good. Again, a lot of my guys from the basses came. The bass came, and it was always fun to see them play. And I did a song on a recorder, and I was just talking to my buddy about this, and they never heard me play the recorder, apparently. I thought they did. And so I told the story behind the recorders, and they were laughing. I was like, wow, he's really laughing pretty good. That's a good courtesy laugh, because I thought he heard it before. And lo and behold, he never heard it. So I was like, oh, I thought you were just giving me courtesy, Sarge. And he was like, no, I never heard the story. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. So, but they were there last night, did it at Bedlam, Lower Town, and I had a good time. It was not too late of a gig, not too early of a gig, and just relaxed. Did all kinds of styles of music, from Latin jazz to smooth contemporary, Irish Celtic.
Ooh, I love
so
Irish Celtic.
I did a little bit of that, and then some other stuff on there, and mixed with singing.
So you came here prepared to do four songs for us tonight. What's on the
next one?
Next one.
The next one was on my first jazz CD, which is Un Lugar Celestial. It was made famous, performed by Jackie Velasquez. So hope you enjoy it. Yep, not this time, right? They ought to have these wireless.
We're working on it. All right, here's Johnny Holliday for third out of 4 tunes here on North Star Oasis. Take it away, Johnny. Holliday with another number. Well, we have about 10 minutes left, and I know you got one more queued up, but so I guess we're going to have a very brief conversation, but I actually want to show you a piece out of my personal historical artifact collection. And if we can get a zoom in on this, and we'll eventually get there here. This happens to be a Diston Kiefer cornet. It was manufactured by the Henry Diston Company back in 1907. And at this point in time, the Henry Diston's family was selling out to Brewer C. Kiefer. And Brewer Kiefer was the vice president of the company. And this, if we can zoom in really tight on the etchings here. I don't know how good we can do. Yeah, this is an American model, Brewer C. Kiefer maker. This is a transition horn. This horn was made while they were transitioning the company from one to the other. And that alone is interesting history, but what really makes this special is this one played the national anthem for President Theodore Roosevelt on the USS Wisconsin, battleship number 9, as part of the Great White Fleet. It was purchased from the estate of Harry L. White, who was the Marine Corps trumpeter.
Wow.
And so
that's a lot of history right there.
It is a lot of history. So
if
you want to go,
talk.
if these valves could talk, I'll tell you. So if you want, go ahead and warm up, and I'll just let you play for just a couple of moments because it's a historical moment.
So now I have 2 horns. It still plays great, for the age and the all that it's been through. It looks like it went through a few wars itself.
Yeah, it probably went through World War I, World War II, maybe Korea.
History right there. We were one thing I've been really, really blessed is to meet a company called Marcinkiewicz. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that custom made this Marcinkiewicz shepherd's hood Vermeer model for me, and it was just amazing, all the artwork, and the owner is prior Navy.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. So his heart to make the highest quality you can make. It's all handmade, minus a couple of things on the horn, but and it's all silver and gold plated, so that way I could boil it in water every day and disinfect it, if I want, and it doesn't damage it. And these guys are just amazing, huge supporters of what I do with the military, huge supporters with the performances. Real quick, I got this horn when I was teaching some troops down at the training site that I was at. Got it on Friday, and I would play for the troops practice and then come and listen. Played on Saturday, and it fell over on concrete.
Ooh.
And I just got the horn Friday.
Ooh.
And it torqued the bell. This was it was about $1,500 worth of damage. Marcinkiewicz, without even thinking about it, sent me another horn. Without even question, say, hey, use this, because I was like, I got to show. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I've had some great friends that offered the horns, but, I just wasn't able to meet with them. And they sent me another horn to utilize just till that one got repaired. Didn't even think about that. Oh, you can't beat a company like that. You can't. Everybody else been charging you, which is understandable. It's business. But I have just been amazed by this company. They made the Flugel horn as well, the other big one that I played. And I'm just, you can't go wrong with Marcinkiewicz. That one's amazing. But today's horns, you can't go wrong with a Marcinkiewicz.
Well, you can't get a Kiefer or Diston horn anymore.
No.
The Kiefer company went out of business in about 1964.
Oh, wow.
So from 1907, 1909, that family had the company, and they were manufacturing decent horns. Not quite as good as Diston, and Diston had a much superior reputation. And then the factory in, I believe it's McKeesport, stamped on the horn, Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The factory had burned down, and then the Kiefer family decided to get out of the business. And so
it's a hard business.
It is.
It is a hard business.
Now, the interesting thing about Henry Diston is that he had manufactured brass wind instruments with Adolph Sax, the inventor of the saxophone.
Yeah.
And he had created a company in London, And then after that, I believe it was Boosie and Hawks, which is another big name manufacturer. I believe it was the Boosie bought the company from Diston, but then they signed a non-compete agreement. You can't build another musical instrument factory within 100 miles of London. So he moved to New York.
Oh, that should cover it right there.
Yeah, that covers. And so then he became a instrument manufacturer in New York, and then he ended up getting hooked in with John Philip Sousa.
Really?
And he would actually recommend musicians to play for Sousa, including the Santelmans. One of the directors of the Marine Corps band, the President's Own, was I believe his name was William Santelman. And he was recommended by Henry Diston, and then Santelman's son also became a director of the conductor of the Marine Corps band.
Wow.
And so that's how Diston was really tight with Sousa. He was tight with the Department of Defense, and that's most likely how this ended up in the possession of Harry L. White, is that Diston was providing the instruments for the U.S. military bands in the 19th century.
Wow. There's a lot of work going on there.
It took a lot for me to figure that out, too.
I'm glad you're doing the research and I'm done, because I'd already lost some of that intel.
Well, we got just about a minute left here before we have you play
Okay.
your exit number. What's next?
This next one is called In the Wee Small Hours. It was made famous by Frank Sinatra. It's a jazz standard.
Well, actually, what's next for you?
That's next song. Okay.
Not just next song, but...
Well, I'm always looking to progress in my military career, and I'm right now working on putting together a Christmas Latin album. I've been, questioned so much, why haven't I done a Christmas album? So I decided to finally do one. There will be a GoFundMe site for it, but it'll explain everything of what's going on.
Do you have a website?
I do, www.johnnyholliday.com. 2 L's in Holiday and 2 N's in Johnny. And my goal is to complete that album. I'm going to have an amazing percussionist and drummer on there. His name is Alex Acuna. Just an amazing guy. And some great musicians from my buddies from Miami and also in Texas and stuff. So, and then hopefully, if it's completed in time, do a CD release concert of the Christmas album by December.
When that happens, I'd like to have a CD release program.
Oh, that would be great.
And
that would be
invite
fantastic.
you back on the show. But we've got about 2 minutes left, so
Okay.
let's just get you going. And what we'll do is we're just going to have Johnny Holliday take us right on over to our exit. And that's it for this week. We'll see you next week on North Star Oasis. Here's
In the wee small hours of the morning, while the whole wide world is fast asleep, you lie awake and think about that girl. Never ever think of counting sheep. When your lonely heart has learned its lesson, you'd be hers if only she would call. In the wee small hours of the morning, that's the time you miss her most of all.